Oh yeah, that's right. All right, starting this stream. Let's get this party started, shall we? Adjustments everywhere. Okay. All right, I can hear myself nice and loud, hopefully. Which is a great. Taking a look there. Yep. Okay, this stream is up and running. All right, just trying to do 10 things at once. Logged into the wrong YouTube account. Anyway, all right. We'll start in a moment. Just want to make sure everything is up and running. Streaming. Where is LinkedIn? Oh, great. It is. Awesome. So if you do have a question, please leave a comment. I'll do my best to answer them and keep an eye out on all the comments. And then at the end, we'll have a little chit chat if anyone wants to stay around. It is a Friday night here. This is my first live stream back since like 2 months. So I'm going to be trying out different times because I'm in a different time zone, pretty much other side of the world now. So things are a little different. I have to kind of see how things go. So let's just bring things up. And I don't also have my nice organized setup. This is the best I've got. Anyway, that's all right. All right, so what are we doing here? Set this up. All right, perfect. Okay, so that is that. No, that's all right. You can just turn on. You don't need to understand English. It's all right. I'm sure aren't captions now generated in different languages? I mean, AI should be able to do that. Okay. All right. Let's do this. Let's switch over. Let's get this party started. No point hanging around. And what I want to do, let me just set everything up. I think everything is good to go. I'll take my headphones off. Don't need them. Too annoying. Anyway, let's get going. All right. Cool. Oh, need to turn on before I start. Nearly forgot. Need to turn on all of my recordings. Oh, that was close. Actually, no, we're not doing that. Where's the right screen? Record that and that. All right. Just want to make sure I've got a nice high quality recording of that and a backup. Multiple backups. Okay. Perfect. All right. So let's get this party started. Hello and welcome to this live stream on organizing content entity forms in Drupal. Now, what are we going to talk about? Well, if you take a look at my screen right here, you can see that we have a content entity form. Now, I'm just going to jump straight into it. And if we scroll, you will notice how we have a few fields. And if I keep scrolling, I've got even more fields and more fields and more fields. And eventually, as you're building out a Drupal site and you have a lot of content types, you end up with a lot of fields on these content types. Now, I've worked on Drupal sites where you can have a content type with about 20 or 30 fields, and managing all of that can be a little problematic. So in this live stream, I want to show you how to organize these fields, and we'll look at three modules. And these are my three modules that I use, that I have used in the past. And I'll start by the one that I use the most and then work backwards. So the one that I use on pretty much every single Drupal site, no matter what, because there's always a need to organize your fields and things like that, is called Field Group. Now, Field Group allows you to simply group fields, hence the name Field Group. And you can group them by tabs, and that can be horizontal or vertical, a field set, a details, elements. You can even just add in arbitrary HTML um, group as well. So you could put in a field group and then just specify the specific markup that you want. But I mostly use it for tabs and also adding in little basic accordions. But the accordion functionality has been taken out because it's got a dependency on jQuery. So I think it's actually deprecated. But this is an important module. Then the second module we're going to take a look at is called Inline Entity Form. Now, this allows you to create and manage entities that you would normally reference through a entity reference field using this module. So that means you can, instead of just having an autocomplete field, you can create an entity and you can manage the entity as well. So it pretty much loads up the entity form inline. That's why it's called Inline Entity Form. And then finally, we're going to take a look at conditional fields. Now, this module allows you to set up conditional field logic on your entity forms. I've used it in Drupal 7 and older versions of whatever you call Drupal 8 and above, so probably Drupal 8 or Drupal 9. One thing to be aware of is that as of this recording, if we scroll all the way down here, you will see that, well, first of all, it's an alpha and there is no Drupal 11 version. So I actually manually downloaded the Drupal 11 version from a pull request. And I'll show you how to do that when we talk about it. That's the only thing to be aware of. But there are a few limitations with this module, and I'll talk about that when we cover the module. But these are the three modules we are going to look at. Now, another requirement for this live stream that I also want to mention is that we are not changing the content model. Now, sometimes you may look at this and be like, oh, this is too many fields. And maybe you don't need this many fields. So then you could go ahead and start deleting content or deleting fields. But that can be a bit problematic if you're brought onto a website that already has content. So you want to avoid touching the content. So these three modules can be used on any Drupal site, and you're not going to damage the content model. You're not going to change anything. It can just be installed. The modules can be installed, and they can also be uninstalled as well. So that was my three major requirements. So let's start things off by taking a good look at Field Group. Now, if you want to learn more about the module, just head over to drupal.org/project/field group and then scroll all the way down and you will see two different versions. I believe the 4 alpha is trying to pull out jQuery stuff, but I just downloaded the current stable, which does support Drupal 11, which is important. As of this recording, Drupal 11 was just released probably a month or two ago. So it's important to make sure whenever I show modules that there is a Drupal 11 version of it, because that's the first comment I'm going to get. It's not available for Drupal 11. So this one is available for Drupal 11. Download it using Composer. I've already downloaded the module. So what I'll do is I will go to Extend and search for Field Group. And you can see here, you have the Field Group module, and then you also have the Field Group deprecator module for the accordion. Again, we're not using that because it requires jQuery UI, which I believe is end of life, which mentions it right here. So let's go ahead and install it. So now we're just going to go ahead and download some configuration, some translation, and install it for us. Now, to create and group your fields, all you need to do is go to structure and then into your entity type. In this case, it can be content types. And let's go to event because this is the content type that we are working off. And let's go to manage form display. And you should see this add field group button. If you can't see it, make sure the module is installed. If you've installed the module and you still can't see it, go to configuration, where is it? Performance, and clear the cache. Sometimes Drupal can be a bit aggressive with the caching and wants to cache everything. So do that. If you've done all of that and you still can't see it, make sure you've installed it and you've downloaded it. So that's the important part. Let's take a look at our content type here, and you can see that there are a lot of fields. So what I want to do is group two lots of fields and have them displayed as tabs. And the first one will be called basic info, and the second one will be called date and time. So let's go back here and click on add field group. And from a new group dropdown, you'll notice two tab options. We have tabs with an S and tab singular. Whenever you want to create a tab, you first need to create the tabs with an S group. So that's the first thing you need to do. Now, you can call this label anything because it doesn't actually get shown anywhere, but it is simply used to group the individual tabs. Now, I said tabs with an S, but you understand what I mean. Click on save. And then here you have a few options. You can add the direction if you want it to be vertical or horizontal. You can also add in a label if it's necessary, and then add in an ID. That is an HTML element ID. And you can also add in extra CSS classes if you want. But we'll just leave everything as it is and click on create group. Then we scroll all the way down and you should see tabs. Now, another thing to mention while I scroll this all the way back to the top is that if you click on the cogwheel here on the right, and I'll make sure my video isn't covering it, you will see this cogwheel. Here you can go ahead and modify these field group settings anytime. So when you are creating a field group, don't think that you are stuck with the settings. You can go and click on the cogwheel and make your change. So let's go ahead and save the form. And at this point, we just have the tabs group. Now let's click on add group again, and this time select tab, and we'll call this one, what was it? It was called basic info. And click on save. Leave everything as it is and click on create group. And if you scroll down to the bottom section, you will see that it's there, but it's disabled. And let's just move it to the top and then indent it under tabs. So that means it is under tabs. Let's scroll down and click on save. Now, one thing that you will notice if you play around with field group is that it can be a bit temperamental. You'll see now that I saved it, but the basic info is now down at the bottom. For some reason, you need to save it once or twice. Well, let's be honest, twice or three times to get it to actually work. I don't know why. It's a bug that's always kind of been there, but you save it two or three times and it works. All right, let's create another tab, and this one will be called date and time. And let's click on save. Click on create group. Let's move this below basic info, and let's organize the widgets into the tabs. So let's move title below basic info. The next one will be, where is it? Event description. The next one will be event type. The third will be event image. And then for date and time, we do have a start date, an end date, a registration. Wait, is that it? No. Oh yeah, registration deadline. That's another date and time. And so you should see a nice hierarchy here. So we have the widgets under the tabs group. And then if you click on it, you can just move it up and down, and it will move all of the child elements as well. So scroll all the way down to the bottom and click on save. And you want to make sure this has actually been saved. Let's just click save one more time just to make sure it's nice and saved. Then if we jump over to create event form and refresh, we should see a nice set of tabs here. Now these tabs are vertical, of course. We can change it to horizontal. So to do that, find your tabs and then click on direction, horizontal, update, scroll down, click on save. Everything's looking good. Yes, it is. And then hit refresh and you see the tabs in a horizontal format. I personally like the tabs in a horizontal format because when it's vertical, you lose a lot of space on the left-hand side, whereas here you can have multiple tabs. Of course, once you get to like probably around here, who knows what's going to happen? The internet's going to explode. I don't know. But most of the time, you don't have that many tabs. So that is how you add in and organize your field widgets in tabs. Pretty basic, pretty straightforward, and I use this in a lot of my sites. Now let's take a look at another way of organizing and grouping your fields, and that is in just a collapsible div. Similar to like an accordion, but just a basic collapsible div. Now let's go back to Manage Form Display and click on Add Field. Add Field Group. And you want to select Details. And we'll call this one, well, I'm going to copy it from my notes so I don't have to type it. And that is Capacity and Registration. And let's scroll all the way down and move this just below tabs. And let's add in, where is it? Maximum attendees is free event and ticket price. Then we click on save and let's take a look. Yes, looking good. It is looking good. Refresh. We have our tabs up the top here, which is great. Then we have our capacity and registration. And if we click on it, we can expand it. Again, this is a very common way of just grouping widgets, and it's a great way to just group them and organize them. And the other way you can group the widgets is by adding them to the sidebar here on the right. Now, to do that, we jump back to Manage Form Display and click on Add Field Group. You want to select Details Sidebar, and this will automatically add it to the sidebar. So this one will be called Organizer Details. Let's create that one and just move that. You can technically put that anywhere because the sidebar is kind of handled in a very hard codey way. Drupal just grabs certain elements and just chucks them in the sidebar. You can't really control what goes in the sidebar from this view other than using field group and adding it to the sidebar, or you're writing custom code. Yeah, it's a bit of a Drupalism. All right, let's now put in event. Where is that? Event organizer. Organizer email and event website. There we go. Perfect. Saved. Let's make sure it's there. Organizer details. Perfect. It's there. We refresh. And then here on the right hand side, you should see organizer details. And you can see it here on the right hand side. By default, it does have a weight of 0. So that is why you see it set right to the top, but we can change it by clicking on the cogwheel. So go to organizers, where is it? Clicking on the cogwheel and changing this value to say, I don't know, 100. And then clicking on save. Then we refresh and you can see it right down. I hope my head isn't covering it. You can see the organizer details right there. So that's how you can kind of organize, no pun intended, your form elements. Now, when it comes to field group, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like that's pretty much 80 to 90% of your field group when it comes to managing the actual widgets. Now, you can use field group to group your fields and display them on the front end. You can do that. That is totally possible. So what I've done in the past is I have grouped fields. So I would use, say, field group. So let's add in this HTML element, and I'll call this one, let's just call it, I don't know, header wrapper. And what you can do is put a div in there, and I'll call this, and I'll give this one header wrapper. And then I can move these items above, and let's put in the, where is it, event type, because I do know that is required, and the description. And then if you come along in here, you can adjust things and add in extra attributes. Now, if you're doing a decent amount of Drupal site building, the way you do the front end will be very, it varies depending on your site. You may use single component, what is it? What is that? Single component templates. I forgot what it's called. You may just go full twig. You may use paragraphs for everything. There's 20 different ways of styling a front end. So I've only done this in the past where I picked up a legacy Drupal site and they just needed a quick change and I just had to add in a bit of markup. So you can use field group for that to, simply group random fields together. Because now if I go on the front end, do I have an event here? I do. Let me chuck in some event description just so that we've got some content here. Scroll down and click on save. Of course, you're not going to see anything, but if we inspect and I zoom in, let me zoom in a bit more, you will see this element right here called header wrapper. The only time I've ever done this in the past was when I was working with a front ender and we needed to add we needed to wrap fields in a div very quickly. and we didn't have the time to really, set up and do a template override. And then in that case, it worked pretty well because the site already had field group. So it's actually saved my bacon a few times then. All right, so that's pretty much it when it comes to field group. Again, it's a great module. I highly recommend that you use it, especially for grouping field widgets. Now let's take a look at Inline Entity Form. So if we go back to our form, so let's come along in here, you'll see that we do have a venue field. So essentially what I've done here, and maybe I should have covered this in the beginning, but I've created two content types, one called event and another called venue. And venue, so event is like just like a conference, and then of course the event happens at a venue. Not all the time. If it's online only, you won't have a venue. But in this case, we do have a venue, and when you create the event, you can reference a venue. Now, by default, you have the the autocomplete widgets. And yes, we can search for, what is it, venue, and not event. We can search for venue, and you can see our two venues right here. But it's pretty limited in scope. You can't really create a new venue from this page. You need to go off to content and create your venue from there. You can't edit the referenced menu. Now, this is where Inline Entity Form can help. Inline Entity Form simply displays the venue entity form inline and displays it in this event form. So you have the venue form in this event form. Now, luckily for us, this does support Drupal 11, and I do believe I'm running probably, oh yeah, I'm using version 3 because that's the only one available for Drupal 11, and I've gone ahead and downloaded it. So if you're following along at home, just go ahead and download the module. So let me open up a new tab, search for Inline, and you want to install Inline Entity Form, and click on Install. Let me close some of this. Where is my manage? All right, I guess I close that tab. Let's go to content types, manage form display, and click on that. And let's find the venue. And you can see that it is using the default autocomplete widget. But if we change it to say Inline Entity Form Simple, so let's look at that one first. And click on Save. And we come in here and refresh. You will see the whole venue form just simply embedded into this form. Now, this widget isn't that useful because it just allows you to create a venue when you're creating the event, but you can't select an existing venue. So my recommendation is to skip using the Inline Entity Form Simple and just go straight to Complex, because Complex allows you to do a bunch of stuff. So if we click on the cogwheel, you can see we have a few more options. We can add, allow users to add new nodes. Well, that's content, allow users to add existing, and also allow users to duplicate. So if we click on Update and click on Save, and then we refresh, you'll see here, we have our add new node. Node is the internal name for content. And if you click on it, you can then go ahead and add in and create your venue. One thing the module does allow you to do is change the branding or the label name. So instead of saying create node, you can call it create venue. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's jump back in here and click on the cogwheel, scroll up, and then you want to check override labels. So that'll be, what is it? Venue. And then for singular, and then for plural, that'll be venues. And then you can make it collapsible. And let's also allow users to select existing nodes and also duplicate. And then you have a few options on how to delete unreferenced nodes. And I'll show you that in a second. So click on save. And then if we scroll up, you can see that now the branding or the label has changed, which is great. And if you want to create a new venue, you can do so just by clicking on that, by clicking on create new venue, or if you want to select an existing one, you can go ahead and select an existing one, click on add, then you can even edit existing content if you like. Now, if you click on remove, this is where you need to just be careful. If you click on remove and just click on this remove button without checking delete this venue from the system, that'll simply remove the reference to that venue. It doesn't delete the venue. That's very important. If I was to check delete this venue from the system, it will actually delete it. That's where you just want to be aware of this option right here. Keep or delete unreferenced venues. Because sometimes you may want to have all the referenced content deleted, no matter what. Depending on your content model, depending on your business logic, or however you've set things up, you may want to have it deleted. So it's up to you. It's a business requirement, really. How you want to manage it. Now, when it comes to inline entity form, I believe that is it. There's not much to it. It is a module that I use. I don't use it too often, but I do use it. You can actually use it. Oh, no. I have used it a fair bit with blocks, and where you can, where I've used a block type similar to a paragraph, where you can fill out like a footer section or a sidebar section of a piece of content. And instead of using paragraphs for it, it'll use a block type, and you can just manage the block type directly from the page content, and then you can move things up and down. So that's one way of doing it. There's a few ways of doing things, but yeah, that is one way of doing it. Now let's take a look at conditional fields, because we have cleaned up our fields. We have reordered the fields using field group. We have organized our referenced entity forms using inline entity form, but sometimes you may want to hide and display your fields depending on some type of conditional logic. Now, you can do this by writing custom code, absolutely, but we are all about avoiding to write custom code, because just recently at DrupalCon Barcelona, I think, for one of the keynotes, Dries did his famous Dries notes. And for people who don't know, he is the project lead for Drupal. And he mentioned that Drupal wants to target itself as a no-code platform, meaning that you can do everything through the UI. And he was a pretty good keynote, and I do recommend that you watch it. And that was just this week. But yes, the whole point of Drupal, especially the reason why I like it, is that you can do a lot through the UI. So I want to show you how to use conditional fields on one condition. There you go. There's a bit of a pun there. you just need to be aware of a few things as of this recording. So I did mention in the beginning that there is no Drupal 11 version of, of this module. So before we start, let me go through a few housekeeping rules. First of all, if you use paragraphs a lot and you want to control and you want to add custom logic and conditional logic between fields that are in a paragraph entity form and elements that are outside of that, it may not work. There's also a ticket here for support for Layout Builder. So if you're using Layout Builder, it may not work. You can also see the ticket right here. Controlled by fields inside a paragraph won't work. And you can see that there's 200 replies. So this has been around for 7 years and it was updated just recently. So your mileage may vary with this module. And if you search for, where is it, Drupal 11, you will see that there is this compatibility issue that it's kind of there, but Drupal 11 isn't technically supported. So what I had to do to kind of get this over the line, because I really wanted to show you, how to use this. What you need to do if you want to install this is go to the pull request and you want to go to the branch. So this specific branch, and then go here, code, and then just download the module. And then you'll go, then you'll be able to go ahead and download it. And then you just have to chuck it into your Drupal site. And so far it works for me because the module doesn't have really any other library dependencies, and it works pretty well. All right, so there is a comment. I just noticed it. Sorry about that. There is a comment about, I assume IEF, which is Inline Entity Form, is also used at commas. Yes, it was originally developed for Drupal commas. So when you create a product, and you can, when you create a product, you can create all these other entities. So yes, it was originally developed for that, but it's a very useful module for any type of entity. So once you have downloaded this module, then you just chuck it in, as I mentioned, into your Drupal site and install it. Now, if you are watching this video a few months, a week from now, chances are the module will be updated for Drupal 11 eventually. So what I recommend is come back here. So let's go back to the project page and just be aware and take note of this area right here. If this says 11, then you're good to go. And it will be alpha 6 or something. I don't know. Or something like that. All right. Let's go ahead and install the module. I've already added it to the code base. And let's go ahead and search for conditional. And click on install. And that's all looking good. And let's go back here and refresh. And you should see a brand new tab called Manage Dependencies. Now, this allows you to then manage dependencies just for this content type or bundle. But if you go to Structure and then scroll all the way down to the bottom, you should see Conditional Fields, and then you will see all of the fieldable entities, and then you can drill down directly into them and then manage it the same way. Where is it? Content, event, and you can see you can add the dependencies right here. All right. But normally you'll just do it from the manage form display. That's the best place to do it, through there. All right, let's go ahead and add in a bit of logic. So the first bit of logic I want to do is So what we're going to do is come back to here. Let's cancel that. Well, let's refresh this page. Just give me a moment. I think my browser's having a moment. Okay. So let's refresh this page. And the first bit of logic I want to put in is the event type. If you select online, it should hide this venues field totally, because if it's online, there is no venue. But if it's in person or hybrid, then there will be an actual venue. So to do that, come to dependencies. So manage dependencies. And again, just go to content types, and you should see, hopefully my head isn't covering it. You should see manage dependencies there on the right-hand side. And this is where it can get a bit tricky, okay? This was a bit confusing when I first played around with it. So the target field, you first want to specify which field you want to control. And in this case, it is venue. So I'll search for venue. And you want to select venue. You can also expand it out. You can even select multiple items, but multiple fields, but let's just select venue. I really do hate these multi-select fields, because if you say select your exact number of fields you want to control, and then you accidentally click on another one, you lose the selection. I never like these elements. All right, let's select venue. Then you want to specify which field controls it. In this case, it is event type. So then we'll select event type. The target field is invisible, but you can select different states. So take note of that. When the control field has a value. So in this case, because it is a drop-down, we will leave it selected as has value. But if it's a checkbox, it can be checked, unchecked, focused, unfocused, filled, empty, so on and so forth. Then click on Add Dependency. And from the item value from widget, you want to select online, so that it'll be invisible if online is selected. Now you can specify the interaction between other dependencies, and this is where things can get a bit dicey. So you want to use this sparingly. Often in the past, I've had to just write custom code to handle logic, especially custom business logic. And I've had to do that in the past, but this module can get you a fair way, but there is a certain point where you are going to hit a roadblock, and it's like, you know what, let's just implement this through code. Scroll down and click on Save Settings, and you can then see here the actual condition. Then if we refresh, it should work. Let's see if it works. All right, so we have venue here, and we have event type here. If I select person, in person, it appears. Hybrid, it appears. Online, it disappears. You take a look down here. In person, it appears. Hybrid, it appears. Online, it disappears. There you go. The magic trick right there. Okay. So that is the first conditional logic I want to show you. The second one is, if we go to capacity, I want to only display, I want to hide the ticket price if the event is free. So hide the ticket price if it's free, because there's no point displaying a ticket price, right? So let's go to manage dependencies, and our target field will be, what is it, ticket price? Yes. Controlled by is free event. And then it's going to be, so if it's true, then target should be invisible, checked. And then when the control field is checked, so we'll give it a little check. Click on Save Settings. Come in here and refresh. Now, if we check is free event, you can see that the event price disappears. So that just gives editors a nicer way of managing forms. Now, there are other options here that I do recommend that you play with, but well, the other useful option is to use required, where you can actually make fields required. In the past, the last time I played with it, it had issues where, yeah, sometimes the validation didn't quite work. So what I do recommend is, yeah, you really want to test it out. You really want to test it out. But if we take a look at our form right now, we've done a lot to it. I mean, let's just do a quick recap because we've gone through all the modules. So we used field group to organize our field widgets into tabs, into collapsible groups, and also adding them to the sidebar, as you can see here. We used Inline Entity Form to display reference entities directly inline, just gives you a nicer experience from an editor standpoint. And then we looked at adding conditional logic to the form elements using conditional fields. So these are 3 modules that I use, and if you can't achieve what you want to achieve with these 3 modules, then you're going to have to write custom code, unfortunately. Just get in there and write some good old custom code. And if you want to learn about Drupal development, well, then there are videos on the WebWash channel that you can check out on, yeah, building out custom modules. Anyway, that is it from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more about Drupal, head over to webwash.net and check out our other videos as well on the YouTube channel. That's where all our live streams are recorded. This video will be available no matter what. So it is recorded and left online. A few people didn't know that, but yes, once these are recorded, these are left online and you can watch them at your leisure. If you have any questions, leave a comment, and yeah, just give me some ideas for other live streams. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Okay. I hope everyone enjoyed that. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I've noticed that I am looking down a lot because my screen's here, because I don't have a big enough desk. Normally the other monitors here. Yeah. Anyway, cool. Well, thanks for joining. It was fun getting back into it. Don't know what I'm gonna do about next week. Gonna have to come up with an idea about what I'm gonna talk about next week. All right. So are there any other topics people want covered? Any other specific topics? There's all this AI stuff. Oh, man, there's that Drupal AI I want to do, but that's purely just for the views, let's be honest. Because everything's AI these days. AI this, AI that. Oh. Yeah, commas. Yeah. There's a comment about, yeah, commas. I've been meaning to do that, but it's such a big topic. And I'm trying to think of the best way of doing it. Maybe just, yeah, getting in there and looking at Drupal commas and building something out. Yeah, I've done module development. I've done a few of them. I've done fields, how to do custom fields, how to do custom block types, how to use entity, what is it? No, devel. devel generate. What is it? What not? No, like drush, like generate module code. See, I've done that. Maybe, yeah, maybe I can do a few more other things. I want to look at more, front end stuff as well. There is the HTMX module for Drupal, and HTMX looks pretty cool. If you don't know what that is, that's a little library that adds, kind of interactivity. Like it's a full JavaScript library where you can just add in stuff into your DOM and just do some pretty cool stuff, like Ajax requests and things like that. And it is kind of a replacement for React and Vue. And there is a module that integrates it with Drupal. But the good thing is that you don't have to compile. There's no compile step. Writing services. I saw that. Yeah, there is a way. Yeah, writing services. I always hate writing services. It's always good to just generate it, and then just or ask ChatGPT to generate it for you. All right, let me see if there's any comments in some other streams. But I don't know if everyone saw the Dries notes. As I was mentioning, the Drupal AI stuff's pretty cool, like the agent. What is the chatbot agent, where you can pretty much configure a Drupal site to a certain extent um, for you. Oh yeah, well, there's a comment here on LinkedIn about Starshot. Yeah, I covered Starshot originally when it was announced. Well, now it's no longer Starshot. I think it's Drupal CMS. Um, but if you want to learn about all the latest and greatest with the Starshot and Drupal CMS, um, I would recommend that you take a look at what is it? This week's Dries notes. The stuff that they've been doing with it is pretty cool, because now there's Drupal CMS is called now Drupal CMS, and the code is called just Drupal, which is pretty interesting. I like it. Okay, yeah, I've got a few ideas that I want to do. Maybe Tailwind as well. Tailwind. But today I was playing around with Bootstrap, and you know what? I still like it. Still, I like Bootstrap. Anyway, all right. Well, have a lovely weekend, everyone. It's a Friday night, my time here. I'm going to be playing around with the times and dates, so I won't have a set time and date that I'll do these live streams, because I'm trying to adjust to a new life in a new country, in a new time zone, in a new hemisphere. So I'm just trying to get my head around the best time. Because normally when I was doing my live streams before, it was Thursdays, 9 p.m. But then I was always exhausted by the end of it. Whereas I'm a bit earlier this time, but of course I was in a whole different time zone. All right. Well, thank you very much for everyone who came and joined me. I honestly didn't think single directory components. Thank you. Yeah, it's a comment in YouTube. Um, yeah, thanks for that. Oh, that's what I was trying. That's what I was trying to mention when I was talking about front end. I always forget the name. Single directory components. Single directory components. Yes, that is one thing I do want to cover, because I don't quite understand it. Single directory components. Like, yeah, I kind of do. Radix uses it. I think it does it? Radix Drupal. Radix Drupal. You see, top 3 videos are my videos. Yeah, I think maybe, I don't know, a new version of a Radix tutorial. Oh, it's got a new logo. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, okay. So this has been updated. All right. Well, I think it is time to look at this again. But this uses single directory components. And I did cover this a while ago. Components. And it is pretty cool, I must admit. It is pretty cool. So maybe I can do that. And also, now that we have Drupal 11, I can rehash and update a bunch of other YouTube videos as well. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for everyone who joined. I didn't think there would be people. Anyway, Didn't think this was the most sexiest topic, but hey, it's important. You need to manage your forms. That's the biggest thing. I always jokingly say that a Drupal, no, any website, if you think about it, is just is an array of objects to be shown somewhere. So you create a list of something and forms. That's all what a website is. In my 15, nearly 17 years, no, probably I've been building websites for about 20 years now. Yes, no, 24. I started playing around with websites in like 2000. Oh, feel old, using Dreamweaver, Macromedia. Um, in my 24-year career of building websites, um, we've been building the same websites, but just the way you build them changes. It's a bit of a rant there. There you go. All right, cool. Take care. See you all next week. Bye bye.